So in the most surprising transfer portal news as it relates to Alabama, since Nick Saban retired, it's reported that center James Brockermeyer is set to test the transfer portal. And today, we need to break this down. We need to talk about it, and we need to ask the question, what comes next? But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill, I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes, N for no. Are you surprised by the news that James Brockermeyer is set to test the transfer portal? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it, and if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. But having said that, let's jump right into this. And we just got done talking about Curtis Perry along the defensive line entering the transfer portal and how that was the first scholarship player since Nick Saban had retired to test portal waters. Well, now the second enters, and James Brockermeyer. And the reason why this is going to be shocking for a lot of Alabama fans is Brockermeyer reportedly had a really strong spring where he was competing for that starting center position. Now, important to note that Parker Brailsford wasn't a go for much of spring, and though we don't know the reason, one thing I can say is that Kalen DeBoer remained confident in his ability to not only be there, but to be a difference maker for this Alabama offensive line, an offensive line that it's seen its fair share of struggles over the course of the past 3 years, something many Alabama fans want to see cleaned up. But that gets us to the question, where does Alabama go from here? Because many of us will remember, Kalen DeBoer has been forthright in saying defensive back and offensive line were areas they were going to evaluate in the transfer portal and see what they could add in. Now with this exodus, that question must be asked again. But it is important to note that Alabama has done work in the transfer portal along the offensive line. Getting Caden Proctor back was a massive win for the Crimson Tide because he's a very talented player, and I'm interested to see what he can do in his second year of college football. But he is not alone. You have Bertrand transferring from Texas A&M to Alabama, and Parker Brailsford, who we just talked about, who even though he wasn't a go for a lot of spring, is a very talented center. Remember, this was a guy that was one of the top-rated centers in all of college football this past season and was the highest-rated returning center in the nation. He was able to get the job done, and many people have questioned his size, but the only thing I can say to that is turn on the film. He handled the challenges that were thrown at him, and he is a very young player, meaning he still has a lot of room to grow. Now he's in Alabama's strength and conditioning program, and we know what an elite strength and conditioning program that was. The other thing I love about Brailsford is the versatility he brings to the table. Because watching Washington offense this past season, you saw him play center, but you also saw him play guard. And while Alabama certainly doesn't need a starting guard, because I think that tandem of Booker and Roberts is going to be one of the best guard tandems in the nation, we certainly have questions about the center position, because that was a major question this past season, and Alabama had their fair share of struggles at the center position. Hopefully Parker Brailsford is going to be able to answer a lot of those, but one thing we talk about all the time, not only for Alabama, but for the SEC and for college football as a whole, is you want competitive depth. You want guys pushing each other. Iron sharpens iron. And luckily for Alabama this spring, that seemed to be where this was going, where you had Brockermeyer and Brailsford going to battle it out, and the best man would win the job. Now you're asking yourself, is Alabama going to have to revisit the transfer portal, see what's out there, and make some additions? I have no doubt that this is a move that's going to catch a lot of Alabama fans by surprise, because it certainly caught me by surprise, especially after the good spring that Brockermeyer had. But y'all already know, I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking about this surprise entry into the portal. That's it. See ya.